150. His margin of victory was 25 seconds over his teammate, Howdy Holmes. That was one of only 2 victories for Tom so far this year. The other came when Rick Mears broke with less than a lap to go on the mile at Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Mario Andretti is the points leader, and he's looking for victory number 7 this year. His most recent win was on the high banks of Michigan International Speedway. Tom Sneva was ready to challenge Mario for the lead. But with less than 3 laps to go, Johnny Rutherford hits the wall in turn number 4, and Mario has an easy win under the caution flag. This track has not been kind to Mario. He hasn't won here since 1967. Mario Andretti, Tom Sneva ready for the shootout at Phoenix. ESPN, now entering its 6th year as your #1 auto racing network, presents Auto Racing 84. The desert, 15 miles west of Phoenix, home of cactus, cowboy boots, and 6-shooters, and even cowboy hats and bandanas. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins. This is Gary Lee. Welcome to the Stroh's 150 for Indy Cars. Well, when you mention Phoenix International Raceway, you think of Tom Sneva. He likes this racetrack. It has not been good to him this weekend, however. He qualified 9th fastest and then had an accident late yesterday afternoon.
The big problem was in the post-qualifying practice session. Early in that session, as Tom came into turn 4, he was behind young Scott Brayton. Coming down the straightaway, he pulled alongside. We're not sure if Scott was given a move over flag. The 2 went into turn 1 side by side. Scott up high, Tom down low. A simple case of 2 cars occupying the same spot on the racetrack. They got together and went straight to the outside wall. Both drivers were okay, and after a lot of work by the mechanics, both cars now are okay.
Big surprise here in qualifying this weekend. Jacques Villeneuve, the young Canadian and a rookie on the tour this year, is on the pole at a speed in excess of 155.
One of 8 drivers to break the track record. I think the general consensus is in qualifying, the car is about 95% of the effort. It was a case yesterday where he was able to hang it out for 1 good lap, got the track record at the pole, and then backed off almost 4 miles an hour on the 2nd lap.
Well, let's go down to the 3rd member of our broadcast group who will be covering the pit area for us today, Jack Arute. He is with Mr. Tom Sneva.
Down here on the starting grid with Tom Sneva, and Tom, it's hard to believe that this is the same car that went out on the hook yesterday afternoon.
Well, it really is. You know, we tore both right side wheels off the car, but the guys worked, you know, most of the night, and you know, you have a lot of confidence in the people that work on your car, so I'm sure we've got everything pointing in the right direction, and we're looking forward to the start of this race.
Will it precipitate a different driving style the first couple of laps for you?
I think it will. I'm going to have to be a little more conservative the first couple corners to get a feel for exactly what's going on out there. You know, I really don't know how it's going to react, so I'm not going to be able to drive it in there and lean on it real hard the first corner or 2. But after that, as soon as it gives me a feel, then we'll be able to go from there.
Just a little more added pressure in this points chase.
We are almost set to go for the Stroh's 150, which is being brought to you by Pontiac. Cars built with a feel for the road. Pontiac. We're delighted you guys joined us today for our big doubleheader on ESPN, the Holly Farms 400 NASCAR race earlier today. Now we're set for an IndyCar race on the 1-mile Phoenix International Raceway. And here's a closer look at this race course. It is a 1-mile oval, but there is a dog leg in the back stretch, so it's not a true oval. There are 2 turns. They're both banked at 9 degrees. The front stretch is 1,650 feet long and 60 feet wide. A lot of room for racing on this 1-mile oval. The cars have moved away from the starting line, And now let's look at the starting lineup for today's Stroh's 150. On the pole in car number 76, the Canadian Tire March, qualifying at 155.474 miles an hour. Car 76, driven by Jacques Villeneuve. On the outside of row 1, car number 5, the 711 Red Roofs Inns March, driven by Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio. Second row, Johnny Rutherford from Fort Worth, Texas, in the Pennzoil Z7 March. And on the outside of row number 2, Michael Andretti driving car number 99, the Electrolux Quaco March. In row number 3, car number 11, Pete Halsmer from Anaheim, California, the Arciero March. And on the outside of row number 3, Corrado Fabi from Milan, Italy, in the number 33 Forsyth Skull Bandit. In row number 4, Mario Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, in the number 3 Newman Haas Budweiser Lola. Outside of row number 4, car number 9, Roberto Guerrero from Medellin, Colombia, in the Master Mechanics March. Row number 5 from Paradise Valley, Arizona, car number 4, Tom Sneva, the Texaco Star March. Outside of row number 5, the Domino's Pizza Hot One Lola, number 30, driven by Danny Sullivan from Louisville, Kentucky. In the 6th row, Dick Simon, car 22, and Al Unser Sr. in car 1. The 7th row, Al Unser Jr. and Howdy Holmes. Row 8, A.J. Foyt and Jose Legarza. In the 9th row, Al Holbert and Danny Gaius. 10th row, Mike Nish, a rookie, and Gordon Johncock. In row number 11, Pancho Carter and Scott Brayton. The 12th row, Jeff Brabham and Ed Pym. Those are the 24 starters for today's Stroh's 150. And the granddaddy is here this weekend. A.J. Foyt has driven from Houston, Texas to compete in the race here today as they pass by the front stretch and salute the crowd, and the big good crowd on hand here salutes back.
A.J. making his first appearance here in Phoenix since 1978, certainly knows how to work the press. After he left Michigan in a Pura about 3 weeks ago, he moved in here on Friday morning, called a press conference, told the press that he would have a 2-car stable next year, and a young driver he wanted to have Al Unser Jr., but he's occupied for next season, will be driving for A.J., and A.J. would drive some selected races. So he's been in a very good humor all weekend.
And then a guy who has not competed ever before in an Indy car came here this weekend and did very respectable as far as qualifying is concerned. He's a 23-year-old from Salt Lake City. This is Mike Nish.
He's had about 10 races on this track in midgets and sprint cars. In fact, the defending Salt Lake Valley Racing Association champion, a second-generation driver. He's a driver that actually went over the wall here in a sprint car about 3 seasons ago. So he well knows the track, but he's looking forward to a smooth ride today. And Mike Nish says all he wants to do is run the distance.
Here comes the field out of turn number 4, looking for a start of this race. And the green flag is out, and we are racing at Phoenix International Raceway. Tom Sneva moves to the inside, almost scrapes the inside wall, but avoids that, and they go into turn number 1. Turn number 1 nicely. They race down the backstretch, and Jacques Villeneuve, the Canadian, is out in front with Bobby Rahal running in 2nd position. They're in turn number 4. Bobby Rahal moving alongside, challenging Jacques Villeneuve, but cannot make the pass. Now he pulls alongside in turn number 2, has the faster line out of turn number 2, but still unable to make the pass. A great race, and Michael Andretti is also in there paddling for the lead.
I think the veteran from Ohio, Bobby Rahal, is simply sizing up the rookie from French Canada. We were surprised that Jacques Villeneuve had the pole with that lightning speed yesterday, and right now the veteran wants to size him up to make sure how he's going to drive this course.
Johnny Rutherford is running in 4th position. Michael Andretti is 3rd. Rahal is 2nd. The leader is Jacques Villeneuve as they go down the backstretch once again. Again, Rahal is on the inside, trying to find the opportunity to pass, but cannot find it. Now he does. He sneaks by in turn number 3, and Bobby Rahal will lead left. They come up before, and Michael Andretti pulls alongside Villeneuve to challenge for 2nd position.
It's no surprise that Michael Andretti is running so well. He was very fast in practice on Friday. In fact, in the early morning practice session, he was the fastest, and it was a bit of a disappointment that Michael did not qualify in the first row.
Well, there are those who think that Bobby Rahal will dominate the race here today. He has looked very good in practice and has been very consistent. Backing up to talk about the start of the race, Gary, I don't know whether you noticed it or not, but Tom Sneva moved to the very inside of the racetrack. He had Pete Halsmer in front of him, and Pete was also thinking inside, and Sneva came very close to touching the wall, and he had to get hard on the brakes.
Any young race driver is told he cannot win a race on the first lap, but that's exactly what Tom Sneva was trying to do, pick up a position or two, because this is a must-win situation for him if he has any chance at all at the PPG Cup.
Well, he's running in 9th position right now. Michael Andretti is now in 2nd as Jacques Villeneuve begins to fade. There is Michael Andretti, and there is the separation between the leader, Bobby Rahal, and Michael Andretti running in 2nd position. In 3rd spot is Villeneuve. 4th is Johnny Rutherford. Running in 5th spot is Pete Halsmer. 6th is Mario Andretti. 7th is Corrado Fabi. 8th, Roberto Guerrero. And in 9th position is Tom Sneva, rounding out the top 10 as they come down the straightaway. That's the rookie, number 22, Mike Nish, in 10th spot.
And again, Mike simply wants to go the distance and get laps in. He does not want to be spectacular today. He's got a lot of veterans. He has a lot of traffic. And look at those two guys run side by side right there. All Mike wants to do is run the distance.
That is Mike Nish, and the car looks very much like the one that Dick Simon did crash with Danny Sullivan and Canada in a broadcast that we had several weeks ago.
This track is very tricky in that we talked about the turns being a 9-degree banking, but coming off turn 2, the banking quickly goes away. The track flattens out as they go through that dog-leg kink, so it's a very tricky situation, even though the kink is flat out on the backstretch.
The distance between 1st and 2nd has already opened up to about 2 seconds as we continue to watch Dick Simon and Al Unser Jr. There is the leader, Bobby Rahal, as we have completed 8 laps of this race. Already a 2-second interval between himself and Michael Andretti, and then also about a 2-second interval between 2nd and 3rd spot, driven by Villeneuve. And we have a car smoking badly on the backstretch. That is Roberto Guerrero. And the yellow is coming out. Yellow is coming out.
On numerous occasions this season, Bob, has had trouble early in the contest, either spinning or having some mechanical woes. So again, off to a very poor start for Roberto Guerrero.
Well, Guerrero had this same problem at San Air Speedway in Canada. He was one of the first to come in for a pit stop, and here he is again. The crew is going to work on it. They're putting fuel in it just to top it off, and they're changing the rubber on the right side of the car. Perhaps it was a handling problem that was bothering Roberto. I don't know whether he spun over there or not. I did see a lot of smoke coming from the tires. It could have been that he did spin over there, but if he did, he didn't hit anything. And he's back in the pit area right now. So we are yellow. 9 laps have been completed. And the leader at this point is Bobby Rahal, followed by Michael Andretti, Villeneuve, Rutherford, and Pete Halsmer. We'll be right back.
These days, when you're pumping your own gas, nobody's going to ask to check your oil. That's your job. And Pennzoil is the oil for the job. When you're around golf course machinery as much as I am, you know you've got to check the oil to keep that engine protected. And you know you've got to use a quality oil. So when you check your oil, and you should, ask for Pennzoil.
Pennzoil, quality protection. Ask for it.
Get a good look at the first Nissan Maxima SE and find a lot of car. An all-new fuel-injected 3-liter V6 engine, track-stable front-wheel drive, electrically adjustable shocks, more performance than you'll ever need. The new Nissan Maxima SE. A car built to perform on the track is a lot of car for the road.
Come alive, come and drive. Major motion from Nissan.
It's your Datsun dealer.
Monday, meet former Baltimore Colts linebacker Mike Mad Dog Curtis and see highlights from the hapless New Orleans Saints' early years when Billy Kilmer and company were scrambling for recognition. Plus, the highest scoring game in NFL history. It's all Monday on The Men Who Played the Game.
For the PPG Championship will continue on Sunday, October 21st, just a week from today, when we'll bring you the Laguna Seca 300 for Indy cars on a very interesting road course. It's the Quinn's Cooler 300. Join us at 5 o'clock Eastern Time a week from today, Sunday, October 21st. The green flag is out once again, and we are back to racing at Phoenix. Michael Andretti pulling alongside Bobby Rahal in turn number 1, and Michael Andretti takes the lead. We've had 3 leaders and 12 laps here. So I think anybody's domination of the race is pretty much down the tubes, even at this point.
When Roberto Guerrero made that pit stop, apparently he told the crew the tires simply were not lasting today, and they would only last maybe 10 to 15 laps. So maybe that's because of the setup. So we may have a problem with tires this afternoon.
Well, it's very hot, of course, here in the desert, and that will play a part in tire wear. We'll certainly watch that situation, though. Bobby Rahal now moving a little bit closer to Michael Andretti as they go down the backstretch once again. Villeneuve still running third, and Johnny Rutherford fourth. And in fifth position is Mario Andretti. Now, Mario has said that he's not particularly interested in a win here. He just wants to finish and place in the points because a championship very important to him.
I think that is easy for Mario to say during the week, but once the competition begins, I think Mario will try to win it if at all possible.
Once again, the interval between first and second position, Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal. Michael Andretti has had a very interesting year. He has 3 third-place finishes this year, here at Phoenix, also a third at Cleveland, and at Saint-Air in Quebec. Let's go down to Jack Arute in the pit area.
We're here with Phil Casey, the crew chief on the Roberto Guerrero car. And Phil, what was the problem during the pit stop?
I don't know, I had some kind of problem. My hose come off the air gun. The air gun broke or something.
Did you get the tires changed?
Yes, they got them changed.
So you won't have to call them back in?
No.
Well, that's the word here from the pits.
All right, Jackie. It is interesting in the fact that they will only have to make 1 pit stop here for this race. It's only 150 miles, so it's going to be an interesting situation to watch as we go through this race to see when they pit and how they pit. The average speed at 16 laps, 127.59 miles an hour.
If you think back to Saint-Air Superspeedway, Bobby Rahal was the one that was able to stay out the longest.
And Bobby Rahal, we talked to him a little bit earlier during the weekend and asked him about this racetrack here at Phoenix.
Is Phoenix more of a driver's racetrack than let's say, some of the other places you run?
Well, I think of the ovals it probably is, yeah. It seems to be just very tricky. 1 minute the car feels real good, and then, you know, you don't really do anything to it, and 10 minutes later and you go out and it doesn't feel very good anymore, and you really can't figure out why. You make changes and you can't really definitively say, yeah, that was better, or no, that was worse. It's just difficult, and really it's sort of, you got to have everything going for you to win here.
Bobby Rahal right now running in second position behind Michael Andretti as they come off of turn number 3. Now, one of the guys that we've been noticed moving up in the last few laps is Mario Andretti. Andretti has now moved into third spot. There he is. Right behind him is Jacques Villeneuve, and Mario passed for third position coming out of turn number 4 onto the straightaway. Andretti is moving up quickly.
You can also bet that Tom Sneva back there a few positions behind Mario has an eye on Mario because he needs to finish up ahead of Mario to have any shot at accumulating some points. Mario, of course, starting most of the races this year on the pole. In fact, today's starting position was the worst starting position Mario has had all season long, and that was 7th today.
Back in the pack, here is Johnny Rutherford running ahead of Pete Halsmer in car number 11 and Tom Sneva, the third car there in line, the white Texaco Star. Johnny Rutherford also likes this racetrack as he has won a few times here on it. As a matter of fact, his last IndyCar win was right here at Phoenix.
And Johnny is running the last race today for the Roger Penske organization because that car will be taken over for the road courses coming up the last 2 stops on this season. So the work continues to get Johnny a sponsorship and a new ride for 1985.
Interval between first and second now is almost 6 seconds as Pete Halsmer and Tom Sneva and Johnny Rutherford continue to battle for position out there. Jacques Villeneuve is slowing down markedly in turn number 4 as the others are passing him. So the pole sitter here this weekend has not been competitive, at least in the early stages of this race. There is Tom Sneva, second in points, only 15 though behind Mario Andretti, and there are only 2 more races to go this year. Next weekend at Laguna Seca, a race that we'll televise, and then the final of the year at Las Vegas, Nevada.
I think the pivotal point in the season for Tom Sneevil was 3 weeks ago at Michigan. As we talked about earlier, that race finished under yellow. The general consensus was Tom would have won that race. Had Tom won with Mario second, there would be only 7 points between those two, and a win here could certainly put him in a nice position going into the last 2 races. But now he's 15 points back, and again, a must-win situation.
Well, Al Unser Jr. is putting a little bit of heat on Tom Sneva as they move through turn number 3 now. Al Unser Jr. in the black car, number 7. He's following Tom Sneva down the straightaway. 24 laps now completed in this 150-miler here at Phoenix. There is the lead, and you can see how it's narrowed up considerably as Michael Andretti has run into traffic. Now Bobby Rahal is right on the rear wing of Michael Andretti. They go into turn number 1, passing a slower car, and Andretti holds on to the lead. Jacques Villeneuve, our pole sitter, is in. We noticed him slowing down last lap, and apparently he's having some kind of handling or mechanical problem with that car. Let's go down to Jackie Arute, who's in the Villeneuve pit.
Well, the work is just about completed on the car. With Jacques Villeneuve sitting in there, he's taking on the fuel. They've dropped the jacks down. Now he gets in and spins the tires as he goes back south. Seemed to be a routine pit stop, Bob, but it's awfully early.
Boy, we've got a great race on the course. Bobby Rahal has once again taken the lead from Michael Andretti. The pass occurred coming out of turn number 2 as they headed down the backstretch. Bobby Rahal moves into the lead once again.
And right now we have 2 marches out in front, Bob, and this can break the string because we've had Lola's winning the last 8 races.
The Lola string is intact, but the marches are up front right now. Mario Andretti is running in 3rd position with a Lola, but Michael Andretti's car and Bobby Rahal's car are both marches.
Rahal, as we started to indicate earlier, was able to stay out longer at the Sat Air Superspeedway. In fact, he stayed out so long that the tank was almost completely dry, and it looks like now he's planning on making a stop between lap 73 and lap 75. So we'll watch for Rahal right at the halfway point in the race. Of course, they can also work the yellow should we have one.
Bobby Rahal has been a 3-time winner on the IndyCar circuit. He won at Cleveland, Ohio. He won at Michigan and at Riverside. And a challenge as Michael Andretti tries to get around Roberto Guerrero and had a time doing it there in turn number 3. Meanwhile, Bobby Rahal is finding lots of racing room ahead of him. Tom Sneva, as he came off of turn number 4 that last time, trying to get underneath Pete Halsmer. As we take a look at it, this is last lap ago. Tom Sneva moving to the inside. Look at him smoking the tires, getting on the brakes hard as Halsmer was right ahead of him.
Well, that is exactly Tom's driving style here at Phoenix. He likes to pass low. If he can get the edge down low, he can push the other driver out. That time he simply didn't have the racetrack to do it.
Johnny Rutherford, Pete Halsmer, Tom Sneva, and Al Unser Jr. Well, the history here at Phoenix, Arizona is quite well as far as racing is concerned. A couple of drivers who drove Indy cars made their homes in Phoenix, Arizona. One of them was Bobby Ball, for whom this race is named. We'll be right back with more of the Phoenix 150.
Racing from the inside. No one covers it like Auto Week. Auto Week makes you an insider at the world's great race circuits every week. In the pits, behind the scenes, even in the cockpit with racing driver columnists in Formula One, NASCAR, and kart. Inside coverage just days after the race. And Auto Week puts you inside the world's most exciting cars, right behind the wheel. Auto Week takes you inside the whole automotive scene. Personalities, great cars of the past, columnists with inside scuttlebutt. Let Auto Week make you an insider, too. Call for a year's subscription to Auto Week. 52 issues at the basic price of $23. Just 44 cents an issue. Call 1-800-554-2828 and get this $10 Auto Week fender cover absolutely free. Call right now, 1-800-554-2828. Let Auto Week make you an insider, too.
Bob Jenkins, Road back at Phoenix International Raceway for the Strohs 150, and Johnny Weatherford has come in for a pit stop.
Well, obviously very early. If this is a routine pit stop, they're going to work on the, whoa, the jack comes down before they can get the left front tire on, and very, very unusual that they would change the left front on this racetrack. They really lean on the right rear, and the right side tires take the abuse, and normally we'll not see a left side tire being changed. That time they went to change it. They pulled out apparently the airline on the pneumatic jack. Car dropped down. Costly pit stop for Lone Star JR.
Obviously a lack of communications there among pit crew members as the jacks came down before that left front tire was put on. So Johnny Weatherford is in the pits much longer than he had wanted to be, but is now pulling back out onto the race course. So notice the exit to the pit area here is to the inside of the race course itself, and at that point the pit exit joins the actual race course just out of turn number 2. Johnny Weatherford, his best 1984 finish was a 5th at Sanair, and as Gary indicated, this is his last ride with Roger Penske and Company, as Mike Thackwell, the European, will take over that car for next weekend's race at Laguna Seca and for the final one at Las Vegas, Nevada. Here is Bobby Rahal moving through traffic now. As Rahal is the leader of this race. Jacques Villeneuve was in the pits a few minutes ago. Let's go down to Jack LaRue to find out what the problem was. Jack?
And Larry Curry, his new crew chief, is here with us right now. Larry, what's the problem on Jacques' car?
We just found that we had a punctured right rear tire, and we've corrected it now with a tire change in the rear, and we've got some catching up to do, but that seemed to be the only problem.
Do the watches show that he's going to be able to make that time up, though?
He'll have to run pretty hard to do that, I would say.
A tough break for your pole sitter.
Well, it is going to be tough for him to make up any time on this racetrack because it's relatively short. The lap speeds here are about 25 seconds, so he does have a lot of distance to make up. Look at this situation. The leader, Bobby Rahal, is moving to the inside in an attempt to lap Danny Sullivan and A.J. Foyt. Bobby Rahal has indeed lapped now Danny Sullivan, and the next car he will attempt to lap is A.J. Foyt.
We saw that pack of cars coming down the straightaway, and television can be very misleading because the track looks a lot wider on television than what it really is down that main straightaway. So not a lot of room when you're running 3 or 4 or 5 cars together.
Off of turn number 4, and we'll see if Rahal can pass A.J. Foyt and put a lap on him. He is not able to, at least at this point. Foyt still staying ahead of Bobby Rahal on the race course as we have 40 out of 150 laps completed.
A.J. made that comment that I think surprised a lot of people, that he would run 2 cars next season. He himself would be in one for only a few selected races. He would like to run a young driver the entire season. He also indicated that his first choice of a young driver might be Al Unser Jr., but Al, of course, is signed for Lotus.
Now he does put a lap on A.J. Foyt. So Foyt falls a lap down to the field.
I like that shot there. That is up with the rattlesnakes, the coyotes, and the cactus up on the side of the mountain.
Quite a big mountain just outside of turn number 4, and that's where that shot was taken from. Now on the front stretch is Michael Andretti in the blue number 99, and right ahead of him is his father, Mario Andretti. So Michael is beginning to fall back just slightly, as Mario has moved now into second spot.
Apparently the kart officials are now watching the power plant on Daniel Gaius' Interscope Racing number 25. Perhaps there was a spray or something from the engine. And there is another low in the pit area. That is Danny Sullivan. A quick stop, and he is underway.
It has not been a particularly good weekend for Danny Sullivan, who has run well all through the year. He qualified 10th fastest at 150 miles an hour, about 5 miles off of the pole speed. And Sullivan is already a lap down in this race.
Well, Danny is now 4th in the point standings, and I think he would have to consider this season successful because he's won on a super speedway like Pocono, a road course at Cleveland, and then a smaller oval like Sanair. So a very successful season for Danny Sullivan.
There is the leader, Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio. Our owner is Jim Truman, who also owns Mid-Ohio Race Car Course.
He's also a race driver himself.
Indeed he is. He was the 1982 Kart Rookie of the Year. And as we indicated earlier, has 3 wins on the circuit at Cleveland, at Michigan, and at Riverside.
is enjoying just over a 3-second advantage over second-place Mario Andretti. So, as we indicated earlier, I don't think Mario will be content just to run for a finish in points. He would like to win this thing.
Very interesting situation developed on Saturday here at Phoenix as Pancho Carter stepped into this car, the number 40 Old Milwaukee car that has been driven by several people in the past. Chip Ganassi had the car and, of course, crashed hard at Michigan. But Chip came here this weekend ready to race. In fact, he did take practice on Friday. But yesterday morning, he just decided that, well, we don't really know what his reasoning was, but he stepped out of the car. And there are even reports that he is going to retire from competition.
I would suspect that he stepped out of the car. He said it did not feel right to him. And I don't think he's really retiring from racing, perhaps just from Indy cars. And I have to respect any driver that comes back into the sport, hops in the race car, and can climb out and be honest enough to say, hey, it does not feel right. Because obviously the only reason to drive a race car is for yourself. And if it doesn't feel right, get out before you hurt yourself or somebody else.
So Pancho Carter is in that car here for the Phoenix 150. Bobby Rahal continues to set the pace with 48 laps completed. We were only 2 away from the 1/3 mark in this race. There are 11 cars on the lead lap. We have seen quite a few tire problems already in this race. Villeneuve with a punctured tire. In line with that, we present a track fact. Well, we have a spin. We'll catch up on that track fact a little bit later. But we have a car that has spun into the wall in turn number 2. And it's Roberto Guerrero in car number 9. He did make contact with the wall. You can see how the rear wing is bent and the rear suspension is broke on the car. But Roberto has climbed out and is running toward the inside of the racetrack. Guerrero brings out the second caution of the afternoon.
The Columbia Missouri, what a tough season for Roberto. He finished second at the Speedway, was very promising, is leading in points as far as the Rookie of the Year award, but it's been very, very frustrating. He's had a lot of mechanical woes early in these races, a couple of spins, and now the crash here at Phoenix. And a host of pit stops under this yellow. Bobby Rahal is in, Mario Andretti also in the pit area.
Here is Mario Andretti's stop. They have changed the tires on that car already. Now they're waiting for the fuel to go in, and they're also changing the left rear, but everything is completed now, and Mario goes back into the race, but Bobby Rahal pulls out ahead of him, so Rahal is going to maintain the lead here. Michael Andretti, who was running third, still in. Now he begins to move away. The top 3 cars are back on the race course after having pitted here in lap number 50 because of the accident up in turn number 2 involving Roberto Guerrero. Gives the drivers an opportunity to come in and make their pit stop without losing any advantage.
Well, this is the second time in the last 3 races that the designated pace car driver has been pressed into service to race. It happened at San Air when Johnny Rutherford was asked to replace Rick Mears, who was injured, and Pancho Carter was asked to take the place of Chip Ganassi. And I understand the pace car today is being driven. There is the tail end of the crash as he backs that March into the wall. But once again, Roberto Guerrero is okay.
He was running a little high on the racetrack, but it looks like maybe a tire went down on that car or something. Anyway, Guerrero is in the wall. Now, Championship Auto Racing Teams and ESPN present a track fact.
Goodyear has always made a practice of giving free racing tires to the entrants at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 500th. Also this year, they gave free tires at Pocono. In the past, they've given 2 sets of tires free to the fastest 10 qualifiers at the other stops in the Championship Series. But this year at those stops, the teams are buying their own tires. And this weekend at Phoenix, they'll go through as many as 6 sets. And the cost? About $700 a set.
We'll be right back with more of the Stroh's 150 from Phoenix International Raceway after these messages. Bobby Rahal leads with 52 laps completed.
Hey, Harry Gant, what's it like driving the Skoal Bandit?
It ain't easy. Even in practice.
What's it like using Skoal Bandits?
That's real easy.
Skoal Bandits is tobacco in a neat little pouch. You don't chew it. Just put one between your cheek and gum and enjoy the refreshing taste. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
It's that easy.
Try Skoal Bandits. We think you'll agree. It's a little pouch of pleasure.
Pontiac.
The editors of Road and Track call the Pontiac 6000 STE one of the world's 12 best enthusiast cars. Car and Driver called the Pontiac 6000 STE one of the 10 best cars of 1984. So why did we make it even better for 1985? Just because. The sensational 6000, only from Pontiac.
We build excitement.
Pontiac.
One shock absorber is so superior it has been used by every world champion for the past 13 years. Koni. Koni. So superior they're standard on every Ferrari, on every Aston Martin, on Mustang SVO. Koni. The ultimate performance shock. Adjustable for wear. Guaranteed for life. Less body lean. More stability. Crisper handling. Put the world's finest performance shocks on your car. Koni. Proven superior.
In the high-tech world of car stereo, high technology must go beyond what the eye can see. Kenwood believes in the essentials, in achieving sound perfection, by building car stereo components that produce sound of startling realism and depth. Sound perfection. It doesn't get any closer than this.
More horsepower is on its way. Our live coverage of the Breeders' Crown Championship Series continues with the top 3-year-old Colt Pacers next.
We are back at Phoenix International Raceway, and here are the top 5 at the end of 54 laps. The leader is Bobby Rahal. Running in second position, car number 3, driven by Mario Andretti. Third is Michael Andretti. Fourth is Danny Ungayas, and in fifth spot is Al Unser Jr. It's nice to see A.J. Foyt back on the circuit. He has competed in only 3 races this year, the 500s at Indianapolis, at Michigan, and at Pocono. This is his first short track start of 1984. Right now, A.J. Foyt is running in 16th position. And earlier this weekend, Jack Arute had an opportunity to sit down and talk with this legend in auto racing.
In American sports, it's quite a compliment if you're called by your first name or just your last name, like Ali, or Johnny U, or Dr. J. But in American motorsports, it's the ultimate compliment when you're known simply as AJ. AJ, it's been about 6 years since you've been here. Has it changed much?
Well, it really has. It really did a lot with the racetrack. The walls are a lot safer, I feel. They got cement walls. They've done a fantastic job on fixing the speedway up since I've been here.
How about the racetrack itself? It's always been said that it's a driver's track. Is it to your liking?
Yes, it is. It's a driver's track, and also it's a handling track, because your car can be off just a little bit, and you just can't get going. So it's kind of a combination track. You've got to be right to win the race here.
You're one of the few drivers left that has seen the sport progress, from the old Offies to the Roadsters, to the rear-engine cars, and now to these ultra-sophisticated machines. If you had your druthers, which one would you rather be in?
Well, really, these cars are a lot more comfortable to drive in that, unless something, you know, happens to them. But I don't know. The old cars are a lot of fun slipping and sliding. I remember before the track was ever finished, we'd come out here and tire test and everything else for Goodyear, and it's just a whole new ball game today.
How about the fire within A.J. Foyt? Does it burn just as bright as it did, let's say, in the 60s?
Well, I think they've got it fired back up pretty good this year on some of the stuff they've pulled, you know, and I'm sick and tired of it. Like I told the gang, I says, we're not going to be the nice guys like we've been for the last 2 or 3 years. Let's go back like we used to and see if we can't get back our winning combination.
Do you think maybe it's time for A.J. Foyt to take a leadership role in championship car racing?
Well, I think it's getting pretty close to it, Jackie. I really do. I definitely have run a limited schedule right now at the present time, which handicaps us a little bit, but I'll probably run the major races, which I still enjoy racing, still want to win, or I wouldn't be in the cars at the present time. But I feel as long as you're in them right today, you can learn a lot of knowledge, and I need to do that in case I pick up some new rookie and have to try to, you know what I'm talking about on working on the cars.
There he is, A.J. Foyt, running in 16th position, already a lap down to the field. Now the average speed with 57 laps completed, 127.21 miles an hour. We are still under caution because of Roberto Guerrero's spin and contact with the wall in turn 2. Jack Arute is with Roberto.
Roberto, first of all, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
And what happened back there?
Well, we, after the first stop, the car
you know, had a bad oversteer all the race. We don't really know why, and because we've been suffering with an understeer problem most of the weekend. And, you know, we came in, changed the tires, and made an adjustment to the front wings, which we thought would make it better. And I don't know if there was something wrong or something, or the car was just oversteering so badly it was impossible to drive until it finally got away from me.
Well, we talk about the point battle for the championship, but you're involved in a heavy point battle for Rookie of the Year. This kind of hurts you there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess when you don't finish, it always hurts you.
Well, a tough break for Roberto Guerrero, but he's all right.
All right, Roberto Guerrero is okay in the pit area. The crew is still out in the scene of the accident, soaking up the oil and other water that was put down when Roberto had contact with the wall up there a few laps ago. We talked about the history of Phoenix. Bobby Ball, for whom this race was named, drove at the Indianapolis 500 twice in 1951 and 52. He was a fifth-place finisher in 51 and finished 32nd in 1952. They used to run on the dirt here in Phoenix, and Roger Ward is a former winner. We'll be back with more in a moment.
Kendall Motor Oil protects engines from friction. To prove how well, we plated ordinary piston rings with pure gold and ran them inside this engine for 5,000 miles. Kendall friction fighters are better than car makers demand. But can Kendall protect even soft gold? Look, no visible wear. That's protection. Friction-fighting Kendall Motor Oil for protection worth its weight in gold.
At Century Hardware, we don't sell novelties like some stores do, but we sell Carlin Great Stuff Sealant for $3.99. We don't sell children's clothes either, but we have Werner 20-foot extension ladders for $64.88. And instead of cosmetics, Century stocks McCulloch 16-inch gas chainsaws for $169.99. Of course, other stores sell hardware too, when they have room for it. Century, where hardware isn't a sideline.
It's called Grand Am.
Grand Am.
It's a true driver's coupe, and it's all new.
Grand Am.
But better than that, it's from Pontiac.
Grand Am.
And you know what that means.
We build excitement.
Remember when you'd wear anything as long as it was navy blue? Today, you're more of an individual.
You're looking smarter.
When I design my clothes, I like to mix subtle colors that create interesting combinations.
You're looking smarter.
Combinations that help you to create your own personal style.
You're looking smarter.
That's my idea of fashion.
You're looking smarter than ever. JCPenney.
The Bobby Ball 150, Stroh's 150 from Phoenix International Raceway is now under green once again with Bobby Rahal in the lead. There he is. Right behind him, though, is Mario Andretti. As a matter of fact, Andretti is moving to the outside in turn number 4, challenging Rahal. Lap traffic ahead of them. Side by side, they come down the straightaway into turn 1. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Mario Andretti taking the lead from Bobby Rahal. So Michael Andretti has led this race, and now Mario Andretti has led the race.
We can almost see that coming because there were a number of cars about to be lapped in front of the leaders. So obviously Mario was able to use the traffic to his liking. It got congested. And at that point, a driver has to take a deep breath and hang on as he makes his move. He was committed. He got down, made it 3 abreast, but made it work.
Driver right ahead of Mario Andretti on the racetrack is Corrado Fabi in car number 33, the brother of Teo Fabi, who ran earlier this year in Indy cars, but now Corrado has taken over that seat. Rahal now closing the gap between himself and Andretti as they go into turn 3. Andretti still trying to pass Corrado Fabi. Corrado had practiced very well here prior to the qualifying. He had run several laps on this racetrack just in practice. As far as the starting position here today in this race, he started in 6th position beside Pete Halsburn, row number 3.
This race 1 year ago was won by Teo Fabi, and Teo is here to watch his younger brother. Flew in with Corrado from Milan, Italy midweek. Be flying back to Milan this evening.
Danny Gaius is being shown now in 4th position. There he is, Danny and Gaius running in 4th position. I am not sure that he made a pit stop, though, when the yellow came out because of the Guerrero accident. We have a spin up in turn number 1. 2 cars are involved. 3 cars are involved. Scott Brayton is among them. So is Al Holbert in number 21.
And Dick Simon in car 22 is squeezed to the outside against the wall. So it's Scott Brayton, his second crash of the weekend, car 37. He was involved with that Tom Steva crash late yesterday in practice. Al Holbert in car 21 and Dick Simon in car 22.
Well, Dick Simon did so well here earlier in the year in the spring race here at Phoenix as he had his best finish ever in an Indy car. He finished in 4th position.
I think Holbert just drove up there and stopped. I don't think there was much contact involving these vehicles number 21. It's late. In fact, as you look at the cars, it does not appear that any of the cars are severely damaged.
Scott Brayton, it doesn't appear, is too happy as he kind of very abruptly raises his visor on the helmet and begins to assess the damage to his car. Both Al Holbert and Dick Simon remain in their cars. I'm not real sure how badly they're damaged, Gary. If they're not damaged too badly, they may get back in the race. Simon looks like it's unbuckling and climbing out. So is Al Holbert. So
the drivers are okay.
Yeah, the drivers are okay, and it doesn't look like that there's a whole lot of bent machinery up there in that area, but 3 drivers have been knocked out of the race.
Then you have one of the oldest, we should say the oldest driver of the race, Dick Simon, and one of the younger drivers, and there's a conversation going on right now, and maybe that is the guy that Scott Brayton is directing his anger toward. He was very upset as he climbed out of the car and walked over, and as soon as he saw that Simon was okay, he didn't waste any time in discussing the situation.
So our second caution period in the last 10 laps here has come out. This 3-car accident. All the drivers are okay, and 67 laps are completed. It's Andretti, Rahal, Michael Andretti, and Gaius and Alonso Jr. We'll be right back.
The brand ST, King Cab ST, top of the 85 Nissan line. From performance cockpit to new smooth side strong box, nothing in the class is in its class. Power steering, power stereo, power brakes, and room. Standard.
There's the straight.
The Power King Nissan ST. This is one tough truck you can take anywhere.
Come alive, come and drive. Major motion from Nissan.
At your Datsun dealer.
Picture the Pack in Mile High Stadium. They'll be there to tackle a determined Denver defense. Make your pick with the pros on Monday Night Matchup. Then, former Baltimore Colt Mad Dog Mike Curtis is profiled. His stories and stunts made him one of the NFL's more colorful characters. Later, we'll round up our best bouts for another hard-hitting edition of Ringside Review. It's packed with non-stop action that'll knock you out. Punch up your Monday with ESPN.
Brigham Young against New Mexico as ESPN continues its outstanding college football lineup for 1984. This is a game that will be seen on Thursday, October 25th at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 Pacific Time in stereo. Jim Simpson and Paul McGuire. Now, BYU quarterback Robbie Bosco has proven to be a more than adequate replacement for Steve Young. Join us for the Brigham Young New Mexico game Thursday, October 25th on ESPN. Let's take a look at the point standings in the CART PPG IndyCar World Series. Mario Andretti is the leader with 142 points. Tom Sneva second, 15 behind. Then Rick Mears, who will no longer be able to race this year because of accidents suffered in Canada. Danny Sullivan is in 4th spot in the point standings and will undoubtedly wind up in 3rd or 2nd position. And Bobby Rahal is 5th in the point standings with 89. The second 5, Michael Andretti, Al Unser Sr., last year's champion, Jeff Brabham, Al Unser Jr., and Howdy Holmes. 10 drivers have started all of the races this year. Only 10. Mario, Tom, Danny Sullivan, Bobby Rahal, Michael Andretti, Jeff Brabham, Al Unser Jr., Al Unser Sr., Howdy Holmes, and Roberto Guerrero. Those 10, the only drivers to start in all races this year. There have been a total of 63 drivers that have competed in the series this year. Well, what about Mario Andretti? Leading, winning, or just gaining points?
Mario, your position in the points race makes you the hunted. Does it change your driving style for this race?
I'd like to say no, but I think in some ways it does. I think you go against the natural in a sense. You don't go all out sometimes in some situations, and you have to try to feel that you're playing it smart. By that I mean a little extra safe. And let's face it, you know, the championship is coming to a draw, and there are not too many races to recoup after this if something goes wrong.
And yet it looks as if this racetrack, more than many, you have to take a few chances to win.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no such a thing as really having really smooth sailing, so yes, you're definitely going to have to take the normal chances that you have to do in a race, but you can always hold back, however, just a little bit sometimes in certain situations, and to ensure that you're doing it without jeopardizing.
Well, Mario Andretti is not holding back anything at this point. He is leading this race, and he is behind the pace car, running at reduced speed because of the accident over in turn number 2, which is still being cleaned up. In fact, there is still one car up there on the racetrack. So we're going to be yellow for quite a while here. Here's a 6th place driver right now, Tom Sneva. Tom has got to finish well here this weekend if he has any hope at all of winning the championship. So we will take this break and be back with more from the Stroh's Phoenix 150. Right now, Mario leads, Bobby Rahal is second, and Michael Andretti is third, and we'll be back in a moment.
In the world of sight and sound, you lead the rest. Emerson, America loves you best. You kept the holidays right in June. You gave us memories of the moon, winter weekends and summer afternoons that we could wish upon. America turns on Emerson, 'cause Emerson turns America on.
Emerson products that turn America on at fine stores everywhere.
You've searched and searched for the ideal work shoe, the fit of Welt Construction. Rugged, oil-tanned leathers, a shock-absorbing, long-wearing, space-age sole. Now, the search is over. Introducing Super Sole Red Wings, the result of an exclusive Red Wing process combining traditional Red Wing comfort and space-age performance. Super Sole Red Wings, exclusively at your Red Wing dealer.
Pontiac.
When you get a Pontiac Sunbird, you get a car that's practical and easy to own. When you get a Pontiac Sunbird, you get a car that's technically advanced and carefully built. And when you get a Pontiac Sunbird, you can also get a car with 150 turbocharged horsepower. If you're so inclined. Sunbird, only from Pontiac.
We build excitement.
Pontiac.
When you take one of these things up, you've got a crew to help.
Test pilot Chuck Yeager for AC Delco.
When it comes to my car or truck, I do the work myself. In 40 years, AC spark plugs have never let me down. And with today's technology, AC fire ring spark plugs are engineered to give you up to 30,000 miles reliable performance. Never wait for trouble. Go with AC fire ring spark plugs.
Call 800 AC Delco for a retailer near you.
More horsepower is on its way. Our live coverage of the Breeders' Crown Championship Series continues with the top 3-year-old Colt Pacers next.
Here in the pits, we may have a disturbing development beginning to take place, not only in the Budweiser crew, but also with Bobby Rahal's team. This top tire is the way a tire should look like when it comes off the race car after some laps. But this bottom tire is the way they are coming off the race car. Now, it's not a problem with Goodyear or the tire itself. It's a problem with the racetrack. The aggregate, the little pieces from the racetrack blacktop itself, are coming up and sticking up against the tires. It's throwing the tires out of balance, creating wobbles, creating some instability with the race cars, and it could begin to develop a problem for a lot of the crews here.
All right, that's the situation then as far as tires are concerned. And as far as action on the racetrack is concerned, the crews have just left the area of turn number 2. We'll go back to racing shortly. Howdy Holmes from Ann Arbor, Michigan, finished 4th here in the spring, rather finished 2nd here in the spring, behind his teammate Tom Sneva.
Also during this yellow light, we saw a pit stop by Mario Andretti. That puts him back in the traffic situation just a bit, and right behind the pace car is Bobby Rahal.
Howdy Holmes currently in 4th position in this race. So again, he is doing well here on this mile track. 75 laps have been completed. We are halfway through the Strohs 150. And we always like to mention the drivers who did not make the race that came here and tried to qualify for position but could not. Steve Chassis did not make the field. Gary Bettenhausen was driving the number 36 car that has been driven by Dennis Firestone on the trail this year. John Mort was in the number 64 Jet Engineering car. Stan Fox also did not make it, and Dale Coyne in the number 45 car did not make the race. Well, there is Al Unser Sr., who is the defending PPG IndyCar World Series champion, currently running in 9th position. His last win on an oval track was here at Phoenix. He won, of course, at Cleveland last year. The last race that he won on an oval was right here at Phoenix, and he has a total of 5 wins on this track in 1969, 70, 71, 76, and 79, and he has won more times here on this racetrack than at any other in his career.
But what does Al Unser Sr. have planned for next year? Everybody likes to deny rumors, but some say this may be his last season of racing.
Well, there's a lot of speculation going on concerning the Unzers. Another is that Bobby will come out of retirement. So the silly season, not only in NASCAR racing, but also in IndyCar racing, is very much in full swing at this point in the year. The green comes back out, and we go back to racing. Bobby Rahal now has the lead because of Mario Andretti's late pit stop during that caution period. Danny Ungayas is running right behind Bobby Rahal on the racetrack. They come off of turn number 4. This will complete lap number 78. Listed as 3rd position is Al Unser Jr. in car number 7, but there you saw very briefly Danny Ungayas, who is in 2nd position right behind Bobby Rahal.
Earlier we had been watching that number 25 Interscope car because there was a report that there might be a problem with the engine. Perhaps it was leaking some liquid, but apparently not.
Danny's best finish in 1984 was the most recent IndyCar race at Brooklyn, Michigan on the high banks that we telecast for you. He finished 3rd in that one. And this will only be his 10th start of 1984. Danny Ungayas making his home in Santa Ana, California. Bobby Rahal continues to set the pace here at Phoenix. Mario Andretti, who made the pit stop late in that yellow session, is moving up and is now into 4th spot already. Jeff Brabham. And we have a wreck here on the front straightaway as several cars are involved in this, including Howdy Holmes, Pete Halsmer. Al Unser Sr. is involved, and there is another car at the end of the pit entrance that I cannot see, but four cars are involved. Howdy Holmes' car is...
Al Unser apparently is the other one. There is Halsmer in the RCRO 11 car, and he is moving around in the cockpit, taking the steering wheel. Also, apparently, the graduate of Purdue University is okay. We see that Al Unser apparently was involved in car number 1. He is climbing out. He is okay. Howdy Holmes is walking away.
Danny Sullivan is the other driver involved. There's Howdy. His car is straddling the finish line right directly in front of us. The car did make contact with the wall. The rear end of the car hit the wall and has torn the wing off. Howdy's okay. Looks like all the drivers involved in this crash are okay. I did not see it. I assumed that they came off of turn number 4 and somebody touched wheels with somebody else, and because they were running very closely together, these 4 cars were taken out as they went down the front stretch.
Well, certainly a disappointment for Pete Halsmer, who had found a lot of speed this weekend, and that is a group that had taken a few races off to regroup, to recapitulate exactly what they were doing this season. A new crew chief was brought in, and all of a sudden when they came back to racing, Pete Halsmer was fast. He was fast this weekend. We could only hear a resounding thud as the cars made contact with the outside wall and then spun on down the straightaway. Howdy apparently just almost locked it up to avoid hitting somebody else and backed it into the wall. Although the damage looks severe here, actually the damage is not that severe to Howdy's March.
I think perhaps that Pete Halsmer's car was most seriously damaged in the accident. Some of the body work was coming off of that car as it spun down the straightaway. There is Danny Sullivan in the number 30, and then Al Unser, number 1. Here is a replay of the tail end of the crash.
Looks like the front straightaway at Indianapolis in 1967 when A.J. won his second 500.
Looks like that Danny Sullivan perhaps just pulled to a stop there. as he may have made contact with another car and then just moved to the inside of the racetrack and pulled to a stop. There is Sullivan's car, and right behind Sullivan's car is Al Unser Sr.'s.
Before we get letters from Foyt fans, we'll make that his third 500 win in '67.
So we have our third major yellow incident of the afternoon. Roberto Guerrero was involved in an accident earlier, and Scott Brayton also was involved in an accident with Dick Simon and other drivers. Danny Sullivan is out of the car. Here's Jack Arute.
Danny, what happened down the front stretch here?
Well, I wish I knew. I think it probably a good deal of the accident that you saw was when I got out of shape. Whoever was in front of me, I think it was Jacques, slowed or something happened right in front of us as we were coming onto the straight. I don't know exactly what happened, and I pulled out real quick to miss from hitting him and clipped the wheel, and I got sideways and Al hit me, and then all hell broke loose.
Just a case of the track being too narrow for that many cars.
No, you know, we're out there, everybody's running, the cars are quick, we're running close. I mean, we're wheel to wheel. And, you know, when you're racing and there's points at stake and a lot at stake, those things happen. And I don't think that it was just one of those racing incidences that it happens when you're wheel to wheel in an open wheel car at 150 miles an hour.
But you're okay.
Yeah, I think everybody was okay. I don't think there was, you know, but one of those things.
Tough break, Danny.
For everybody.
Danny Sullivan, fourth in the point standings. His car is being lifted off of the racetrack. So is Al Unser Sr.'s. Pete Holzmer's car has already been cleared from the track, but there's a lot of cleanup to be done. And while they clean it up, we'll take this break and be back at Phoenix.
Pontiac. It's brand new. It's from Pontiac, and it's called Grand Am. The latest in Pontiac road car technology, Grand Am is a true driver's coupe. That means it's built for drivers who appreciate engineering excellence as well as exciting road machinery. You know who you are. Grand Am, new from Pontiac, only from Pontiac.
We build excitement. Pontiac.
Ask Al Holbert, 1983 Camel GT champion, what it takes to win. And here's what he says.
It takes a lot of things. Skill, nerve, preparation, and the best performance products I can get my hands on.
That's why Al Holbert demands high-performance CRC chemicals.
CRC, the professional's choice. I wouldn't settle for less.
The complete line of performance chemicals from CRC. For cars like yours.
Wednesday, the kick of the 80s hits the headlines with PKA's World Super Heavyweight Championship. Anthony Electrifying Amp Elmore looks to maintain his reign as King of the Ring in a 12-round rematch against upset-minded Tony Palmore. Find out who captures the crown Wednesday.
Part two of the doubleheader auto racing on ESPN today. The Holly Farms 400 NASCAR race earlier today, won by Darrell Waltrip. The outcome of this one is still very much in question. There is the leader of the race, Bobby Rahal, but he's in for a pit stop. Here's Jack Arute.
Pit stop looks as if it's going fairly routine right now. They've taken on the full load of fuel. They've checked over the tires. The car is still up on the jack. Now it goes down. He engages the gearbox, and he's away. Let's see if we can get a quick word with Jim Truman here as the lead car. Here with Jim Truman in the 7-Eleven pit. Jim, you expressed some concern early on with the tires, not the fuel. What's the situation now?
Well, right now, if this yellow lasts another 4 or 5 laps, we feel the tires will go the rest of the way. Fuel is no problem. If he gets a few laps on the yellow with these tires, they should finish the race just fine. And by coming in now, I think we'll be able to maintain the lead when the rest of them will have to pit at least once more. So.
Well, that's the story from your leader's pit.
All right. And now Bobby Rahal is not the leader. Mario Andretti is the leader. Sullivan is out of the race because of the accident down here on the main straightaway. Bobby Rahal has been in for a pit stop. Danny and Gaius pitted for tires, and so did Al Unser Jr. So several of the top 5 did come in for a pit stop during this yellow. Gordon Johncock has had his share of problems this year. He broke some bones at Indianapolis. Broke some bones earlier in the season also at Michigan, but boy, it's tough to keep him down.
This is his kind of racetrack. He came out of modifieds back in the Midwest out of sprint cars, and he likes the tight, small bull rings. And right now, keep an eye on the guy that's running right behind Gordy on the racetrack, which is Tom Sneva. Tom is right back up toward the front of the pack, and of course, this is his racetrack. The crew members on Sneva's car names all the cars, and Sneva's car is Mary Lou. She's been named after Mary Lou Retton, who is our darling of the gymnastics during the recent Olympics.
There is Tom Sneva. And there is his teammate, Howdy Holmes, who was involved in this incident on the main straightaway. Championship auto racing teams, of course, very concerned about the safety of the drivers, and we talked about that with the technical chairman.
Kirk Russell is the kart operational director, and Kirk, we still have 3 races to contest this season, but already we're talking about safety and rule changes for 1985. Let's talk about those.
Okay, we announced a rule package a couple weeks back that directs itself mainly to the safety of the cars. We've had a lot of situations this year where the cars have gone into walls at high speeds, and we've directed our rule package at this. Specifically, we'll start with the front of the car. And right now, as you can see with this car, the actual structure of the car stops basically where my hand is, with the driver's feet back around where my hand is now. The structure next year will be required to go 6 inches forward of the master cylinders. The master cylinders are approximately here. So essentially, the structure of the car has been extended much forward, which means what we consider now to be the nose work, the nose body work, will be only approximately this area right here. So we've extended the structure of the car, which in fact gives the driver more protection.
Essentially, the driver's position will remain the same, just affording him more protection in the front nose.
Yeah, the driver's position in reflection to the center line of the wheels will probably be the same, but the additional structure on the front is where the protection will come from, because it will house all the mechanical parts now that have caused the problems this year.
The cockpit itself should be reinforced next season.
Okay, this is a good example of how the cars have developed, and we have written the rules to reflect this development. You have essentially the bodywork on the outside, but a strong structure inside which protects the driver both from a side impact situation and also helps retain him in a high impact situation.
So the March chassis now employ these, but we'll see it on all cars next year.
That's correct. We're also looking at this area, and the details have not been brought forth yet in the form of rules, but we want to have a more definite surface, a definition of surface back in this area, mainly because we know when a driver stops fast on an impact situation that we have to be able to have a broader area of absorption to reduce head injuries.
Well, also, you're making some measurements in different areas next season.
Okay, right now, we measure the overall width of the car, which includes the side profile of the tires. A change in the manufacture of a tire for specific racing conditions changes the width of the car. So we're going to a more stable or uniform way to measure the cars, and we will be measuring them off of the rim of the car, which will afford the mechanics more latitude as they set their cars up in their shops.
What direction are we looking at in 1986 and beyond?
Well, we're looking for stabilization in our sport, rule stabilization, which gives us good competitive races, like I'm sure everybody's appreciated in the last 2 seasons. We're really addressing ourselves to the high speed, the speedways and the high speeds on the speedways. It's going to mean that we're going to have to look at the cars in terms of the downforce that they're producing, but we don't want to lose the advantages that we've gained through the deformable structures that the side pods have, which have done a lot to protect the drivers.
So that's the situation from Kirk Russell of Championship Auto Racing Teams on the new safety features that will be in place next year. Now on the racetrack, an interesting situation has developed. There they are running 1 and 2. They're 1 and 2 in the point standings. Mario Andretti is the leader, and look who is sneaking up behind. Tom Sneva.
Mario, said he didn't want to win this race, but right now with Tom right behind him, he has no choice. He has to stay out in front.
Well, I'm sure this is going to add some incentive to Mario Andretti's desire to win this race if he has Tom Sneva chasing him. These guys have competed against each other quite closely, shall we say, in races gone by, especially at Michigan in the 500. Sneva was very unhappy with some of the driving techniques he claimed that Mario Andretti was displaying, and they raced very close in the last Michigan race, but unfortunately that race ended under yellow before we could have the shootout between them, and Mario won it. But now looks like we're down to that situation again. Andretti and Tom Sneva.
We have the shootout right now in a situation that could go the distance. If we have another yellow, we might see that pit stop, but right now we could have about a 55-lap shootout.
Well, there are all kinds of rule changes that have been announced for 1985, and the United States Auto Club has announced a rule change for 1986. USAC, of course, sanctions only the Indianapolis 500-mile race, but they've announced that in 1986, Indy cars will be flat bottom, which means no more ground effects, and the difference of opinion is scattered and varied among the drivers competing on the circuit.
And should we go that direction, as far as USAC is concerned in 86, it may make for 2 cars for each racing team, one with the flat bottom for the 500 and another one for the rest of the season.
There is the interval between Mario Andretti and Tom Sneva. Tom Sneva would like very much to win the national championship this year, but has a long way to go if he's to do it. He's only 15 points behind, but that can be a lot.
Tom, does the point situation going into this race dictate a different driving style?
Not really. You know, not for me, being in the position I'm in. We've got to do well. So it's just like going to any other race, and you come to win, and that's foremost in your mind, and that's the way it is for us. It might be a little different situation for Mario, but for us, we come to win just like any other race.
Historically, this has been a good racetrack to you. Do you have a secret that maybe somebody else doesn't have?
Well, if I do, I think I forgot it temporarily, I hope. But I don't know. You know, it just fits our driving style pretty well. And in the past, we've had a lot of success here, but every time you come, it's a new story. These guys have been doing their homework, doing a lot of testing and R&D work, so we've got to work it out for us.
Well, it didn't look too good for Tom Sneva, especially yesterday afternoon when that car was damaged in the right front when he hit the wall in the incident with Scott Brayton in the practice session yesterday afternoon, but they've gotten the car fixed and it's running very, very well. Sneva has 12 career wins, 4 here at Phoenix, 4 at Milwaukee, 1 each at Michigan, Indianapolis, Pocono, and Texas. So he, too, has won more races on this track than at any other in his career.
Boy, that was about 1.5 seconds between the two, and that interval has remained constant the past 2 or 3 laps. So obviously, if Tom has some advantage, he'll have to pull out the stops momentarily. And again, Tom went into this race with an unknown quantity in that they had to replace some suspension parts on that car, and was not sure exactly how it would handle during the competition. There's a good shot of Gordy Johncock.
A couple of veterans, as a matter of fact. Gordy Johncock followed by A.J. Foyt.
Changes we expect for the season. We know where Gordy will be next year in that color combination, driving for Pat Patrick.
But as far as A.J. Foyt is concerned, Foyt making a move now on Gordon Johncock as they headed into turn number 3. A.J. stuck his nose alongside Gordy, but then backed off as they went into turn number 3. And Johncock stays ahead of him on the racetrack. Well, on lap number 103, so we have less than 50 to go. And as far as what has happened in this race so far, up front we have seen Bobby Rahal, we have seen Michael Andretti, we have seen Mario Andretti. As a matter of fact, that's who is leading the race right now. Mario Andretti followed by Tom Sneva and then Bobby Rahal. We have had 3 caution periods because of accidents. Roberto Guerrero into the wall in turn number 2. Then a 3-car accident in turn number 1 involving Dick Simon, Al Holbert, and Scott Brayton. And a 4-car shot here on the main straightaway involving Howdy Holmes, Pete Holzmer, Al Unser Sr., and Danny Sullivan. All the drivers out of the race, but all of the drivers are okay to this point.
The car is slowing down the racetrack over in turn 3 by Midge out of the Salt Lake City area.
And that could bring out a caution flag if the car stalls before it gets to the pit entrance. There is Mike moving very slowly in that Dick Simon team car. Nish, as we indicated, has a history of sprint car racing here in the western portion of the United States and in the Southwest, and his father, also a race driver. There's the leader, Mario Andretti, in the Budweiser Lola. So it looks like the Lola string may continue, but Tom Sneva, who's running in second spot in a March, has other plans. Down the straightaway, Johnny Rutherford is right ahead of Mario Andretti, so Rutherford is about to go one more lap down, and Ed Pim is also running in this group. Pim is the car on the extreme left side of your screen. There, Mario Andretti dives under Johnny Rutherford in turn number 2 and puts Rutherford down another lap, and now Mario moves to the outside of Ed Pim in turn number 3, and he also laps Ed. Now, Pim was one of the promoters' options here this weekend. He did not qualify fast enough to make the field, but was added with the promoters' option. Mike Nish, by the way, has made it to the pit area, and so there will not be a caution for that.
A lot of help from his team, though, as he coasted to a stop at the pit entrance, and the team ran down there and pushed him back, so he may just simply be out of fuel.
Running in 4th position right now is Michael Andretti. In 5th spot is Al Unser Jr. 6th is Danny Ungaius. In 7th spot is Pancho Carter, unofficially, as 108 laps have now been completed, and Andretti continues to set the pace. He's opened up the interval between himself and Tom Sneva, as Tom Sneva is caught behind traffic. As a matter of fact, he's caught behind Gordon Johncock. Now is able to pass Gordon on the backstretch.
Mario has picked up almost a 1/10 of a second per lap in the last 5 or 6 circuits.
Sneva diving very far to the inside, almost again scraping the inside wall as he moves around Ed Pim on the straightaway. So Tom is all over this racetrack, using every inch of it.
I think at this point in a race, you could almost liken it to a base runner in baseball. He makes a grounder in the infield, and he's always told to leg it out, run for it. You may be throwing out, but run for it. That's exactly what Tom is doing right now, because as long as he is running in second, something could happen to Lola, and he could drive into victory lane.
Jacques Villeneuve is right ahead of Tom on the racetrack. Jacques moving high and letting Tom pass low. There is Johnny Rutherford, and he is still out there in competition. Johnny Rutherford had trouble early in the race, came in for a stop, but is back out there in competition. And who knows where Johnny Rutherford is going to go next year. There are rumors that he is going to go with the Alex Morales team, and there is also some speculation that he might go to NASCAR and run next year. So the future for Johnny Rutherford is very much in doubt. Johnny's been competing a long time in the Indy cars, even when short hair was the vogue. We'll be right back.
Brad, where are we going?
To Sears to get you a new battery.
A Die-Hard?
Uh-huh. And it's the lowest price of the season, just $49.99 installed.
Oh, thank you.
And I saved $20.
Okay, big saver. How about tires?
Well, Sears has the biggest savings ever on weather-wise steel-belted radials, low as $34.99 installed.
Wow!
You're pretty peppy.
It's confidence, Brad. Sears installs it.
There's more for your life at Sears.
Working hard against the clock could mean perspiration odor. Gillette's Right Guard stick is so potent, one application destroys odor-causing bacteria on contact and for up to 24 hours.
Well, you can find out how this race finished and how several others finished as you join us for Speed Week every Friday at 11:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We wrap up all the major races from around the world on Speed Week. Join Larry Nuber and me for Speed Week Fridays, 11:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. The top 5 with more than 110 laps completed, 115 as a matter of fact are in. Mario Andretti is the leader, Tom Sneva running in second position, Bobby Rahal is third, Al Unser Jr. is fourth, and Michael Andretti now running in fifth spot. Jack Arute has been observing from the pit area not only the activity there, but also on the racetrack. Jack?
Well, Bob, the thing that we noticed, we made an unscientific polling, if you will, of the top 3 drivers, Andretti, Sneva, and Rahal. We talked to Daryl Safi with Mario Andretti's crew. They intend to go the distance without a pit stop. Tom Sneva, we talked to Tyler Alexander. He wasn't just as certain as everybody else, but he said, I think we can go the distance. We don't intend to come back in again. Bobby Rahal, you heard Jim Truman say before that they feel they've made the gamble and they're going to try and go the distance without additional fuel. So it could be liar's poker, but it also could be played out right here on the racetrack.
33 laps are left in this race, so we'll see what the situation is. Mario Andretti continues to lead here in the Budweiser Lola. The other
drivers out of the race, Jeff Brabham has had engine trouble in the Craco car stereo number 18, and as we indicated earlier, car 23, the rookie Mike Nish, making his first ever start in a championship car, out with ignition problems.
There is Andretti out of turn number 2, and the interval between himself, as we look from the camera on top of the mountain, there is the interval between himself and Tom Sneva. It's about 4.5 seconds. So Sneva is not closing in by any means on Mario Andretti. Mario is able to stay ahead of Tom at this point, but we've got more than 30 laps to go, so anything can happen. Corrado Fabi continues on the racetrack. As we indicated, this is the ride that his brother Teo had earlier in the year. Corrado had some problems getting out of the country to come to this race, but he finally did. Teo accompanied him, and he qualified quite well for this race.
He had a lot of practice on this racetrack. He started in the 6th position. Does not like to qualify one car at a time. He likes to go out with a lot of other cars and run for 30 or 45 minutes a la European style.
A.J. Foyt has come in for a pit stop. Looks like a routine one. Fuel is being put in. They're checking the rubber on the right side, and A.J. is motioning frantically at the pit crew, and now he disgustedly takes off the steering wheel, unbuckles from the car, and is apparently going to drop out of this race.
Well, he's chastising some crew member. I don't think he actually disconnected that pop-off steering wheel. I think he just yanked it off the shaft.
A.J. Foyt is not a happy man at this point. He goes over to explain what is going on and what the crew member either should have done or shouldn't have done. In any case,
that's one way to adjust your nose, just jump on it.
A.J. Foyt drops out of competition. He explains the problem to his...
A.J. is so intense, though. How often have we seen A.J. simply unbuckle and climb out? Not very often.
Well, you know, I think A.J. is one of those who feels like that if you have no chance of winning a race, there's very little reason to stay out there and take a chance on either hurting yourself or somebody else. And he wasn't in a competitive situation during this race. So A.J. climbs out.
And continues to be animated.
Still gesturing at the crew members. Something occurred there on the front end of that car that he was not happy with at all. Anyway, back to the racetrack. Andretti continues to lead. You know, we talked about accidents that have occurred in the season this year for championship auto racing teams. As far as we can calculate, about 27 drivers have crashed. There are several, of course, that have not come back from their injuries, including Rick Mears. Now, we'd like to say hello to Rick and to Derek Daly, who hopefully is watching from his hospital room. Now, Rick Mears has been released from the hospital and is continuing to mend. As we take a look at the 3rd place, Bobby Rahal, he's going to have to return to Indianapolis for occasional treatment, but he is recuperating in Pennsylvania. But Derek Daly is still in the hospital. Bobby Rahal dominated the early portion of this race, but has fallen back to 3rd place and has stayed there for the last few laps.
Interval between 1st and 2nd continues to run about 5.5 seconds. So as we look at Rahal, who was dominant early and 25 laps to go, Andretti continues to open the gap ever so slightly every lap. And again, Sneva can only hang on right now and hope that something happens to the Budweiser Lola.
But I'll tell you, Sneva's got his hands full because Bobby Rahal is closing in. That interval is now down to just several car lengths, as a matter of fact. Rahal looking to take over 2nd position. 126 laps have been completed in this 150-lap race. Bobby Rahal running third. Second position is Tom Sneva, and the leader is Mario Andretti. Running in fourth place is Danny Gaius, and then Al Unser Jr. That's the situation at Phoenix International Raceway as we cover live for you from Phoenix International. This Stroh's 150, and we'll be back with more after these messages.
Pontiac.
The editors of Road and Track call the Pontiac 6000 STE one of the world's 12 best enthusiast cars. Car and Driver called the Pontiac 6000 STE one of the 10 best cars of 1984. So why did we make it even better for 1985? Just because. The sensational 6000. Only from Pontiac.
We build excitement.
Pontiac.
Hey, Harry Gant, what's it like driving the Skoal Bandit?
It ain't easy. Even in practice.
What's it like using Skoal Bandits?
That's real easy.
Skoal Bandits is tobacco in a neat little pouch. You don't chew it. Just put one between your cheek and gum and enjoy the refreshing taste. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
It's that easy.
Try Skoal Bandits. We think you'll agree. It's a little pouch of pleasure.
Hi, I'm Al Unser. Maybe I don't make it to the winner's circle every race, but you fans can. In the CART Winner's Circle Club, at some tracks you'll get behind the scene and even talk with your favorite drivers. At home, you'll receive the official CART newsletter, the 200-page media guide, free gifts, and more. A year in our club costs only $25. For how to join, write P.O. Box 150, Pontiac, Michigan, 48056. Come on, join me in the Winner's Circle Club.
Welcome back to Phoenix and the Stroh's 150, where Mario Andretti is the leader. Let's go down to Jackaroo in the pit area with A.J. Foyt.
A.J., a short afternoon, and it looked as if you were really hooked up. What happened?
Well, we had it hooked up, and I come in the pits hollering. I got a tire problem with the front end hitting the racetrack about the last 8 laps, and I punctured a tire, and they was too damn big of a fool to see, you know, what was going on. I got disgusted to hell with it.
It's got to be frustrating to you because you do a lot of your own mechanical work, but when you're cinched up in that seat, there isn't a lot you can do.
Well, it really isn't, and I was hollering. Howard Gilbert, my chief man, and my other people all knew that something was wrong with the front end, and all the rest of them running around like idiots. They didn't know what the hell was going on.
We'll go get them next time.
We will.
All right. Well, A.J. Foyt does not mince any words and speaks his mind, and I admire that in a person. Bobby Rahal, while we were watching the A.J. Foyt interview, passed Tom Sneva for second place. Bobby Rahal is now in second position, and Tom Sneva moves back to third. Here's a replay of the pass.
And right now with the pass, putting Rahal in the second position. Rahal crashed down the front straightaway. Johncock hard into the inside wall.
Johncock really hit it hard and scatters debris all down the racetrack, including one of the rear wheels that came off the car. But fortunately, nobody was right behind him, and everybody has slowed down here on the stretch. But Gordy did have a hard shot into the inside wall.
And there again, the damage to the front of that car. Again, the lower extremities. The fourth time that he has gone almost head-on into a wall, and he's moving around, but he's not making any quick move to extricate himself. They're working now with that line on the helmet for probably the radio, and one of the safety crew members there to help extricate Gordy. Now let's see if there is some problem in the foot area.
Well, again, next year there will be greater protection for a driver's lower extremities. Here is the crash as Gordy slams into the wall and hits it very hard. It looked very similar to Rick Mears' accident at Sanair, Gary.
I could not pick up the number of the red car right behind Gordy. It looked like those two simply got together, and Gordy spun it around.
All right, well, here's pit area activity. Let's go down to Jackaroo with Mario Andretti.
There's a big problem on Mario Andretti's Budweiser Lola. When you take a look at it, on the left front, the suspension has been bent all out of shape. The crew is using a sledgehammer to try and straighten it out. The front wing is also being, well, it's been torn up. You can see it there in the camera. A tough break for Mario Andretti.
Well, that answers the question as whose red car was it that Gordon Johncock got tangled up with here on the main straightaway? It was Mario Andretti, and this could spell disaster for Mario. We talked yesterday afternoon about how Tom Sneva's crash in practice could have spelled the championship for him, but now this could be a significant development in the battle for the championship.
This is the time when he has to get back on the racetrack to get the points. He's out of contention now. That car will never handle. But he can get back on the racetrack and still maybe get some points, but he won't if he's in the pits.
So the field comes by, and they are still working on the front end of that race car. So Mario is going to go a lap down to the field. And this is going to put Bobby Rahal back in the lead and Tom Sneva in second spot. There's a lot of debris here on the main straightaway. Tires and other debris scattered all the way from the start-finish line to turn number 1, where Gordon Johncock's car has come to a rest. Well, for those of you who were hoping to see at this point the Breeders' Crown Series for Trotters, we invite you to stay tuned, because that will be coming up right after we complete this IndyCar race. That Breeders' Crown Series from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, coming right after the conclusion of the Strohs 150 here at Phoenix.
There are points for the first 12 finishers. Right now, I count 11 cars on the track, and Mario in the pit area, so he could still get a point or two if he can get that race car back out the track.
And the big challenge now for Tom Sneva is to win this race and to close the gap between himself and Mario Andretti. Field comes down the straightaway, and Bobby Rahal is the first car behind the pace car as we continue to watch the cleanup down at the end of the front stretch. Dr. Steve Albee and Steve Edwards are the safety crew members. Dr. Steve Albee, the CART medical director, is there. So is Steve Edwards, who is always one of the first on the scene of a crash to ascertain exactly what has happened.
Gordy appears to be perched on the left side pod of that race car, so we're still awaiting some official word, and there he hobbles over to the gurney, and he'll be taken back to the ambulance.
Well, remember, he has broken toes and broke his ankle earlier this year, so those feet and legs are something that Gordon Johncock does not want injured anymore. He's sitting up. He's going to be all right, but may have more problems there in the lower extremities.
So it was Gordy Johncock and Mario Andretti getting together as Mario was trying to overtake Gordy. Gordy moved up. They made contact. Gordy got the worst end of it, but it could be devastating for Mario.
Well, the situation is there are 137 laps completed. We are 13 from the end of this race. Gordon Johncock is on the stretcher. We'll visit the hospital to make sure that he is okay. Mario Andretti remains in the pit area and is now no longer a threat to win this race, but Bobby Rahal and Tom Sneva are going to battle to the finish. We'll be back in just a moment.
Once it was hard to find good-looking slacks to fit everybody just right. Then men's stores began selling Sansabelt slacks and Jmar slacks. Many in practical, comfortable, pure wool with a sewn-in wool mark label. 36,000 different sizes, fabrics, colors, styles to fit any man better, including you. Sansabelt slacks, Jmar slacks, from Jmar Ruby.
It's called Grand Am.
Grand Am.
It's a true driver's coupe, and it's all new.
Grand Am.
But better than that, it's from Pontiac.
Grand Am.
And you know what that means.
We build excitement.
Picture the Pack in Mile High Stadium. They'll be there to tackle a determined Denver defense. Make your pick with the pros on Monday Night Matchup. Then, former Baltimore Colt Mad Dog Mike Curtis is profiled. His stories and stunts made him one of the NFL's more colorful characters. Later, we'll round up our best bouts for another hard-hitting edition of Ringside Review. It's packed with non-stop action that'll knock you out. Punch up your Monday with ESPN.
We are back at Phoenix, where the Strohs 150 is under yellow because of the accident involving Gordon Johncock. The word from the CART officials is that Gordon Johncock is okay, so we're glad to hear that. There are 11 cars still on the racetrack, and Mario Andretti is still in the pit area. And Bobby Rahal is the leader of the race, but Tom Sneva is right behind him and ready to challenge. We talked earlier with Bobby Rahal.
Your assessment of the new rule changes as far as safety is concerned, pro or con?
Oh, I'm for them. I don't know if reducing the boost was necessarily a good thing, but certainly I think the construction of the cars, you know, I think we're to a degree asking the impossible, and that is for somebody to hit a concrete wall head on and walk out of it with nothing. The problems are the ovals. It's that simple. And I don't think, I think an oval track is inherently a dangerous track. And I don't, you know, to an extent, I don't care how much car you got in front of you. If you hit a concrete wall at 190 miles an hour, 2 feet or 1 foot or 3 feet isn't going to make any difference in my mind. I might be wrong in that. But I think what they're talking about with extending the actual monocoque forward, instead of just having a nose piece bolted on, I think that's gonna do a lot to reduce these foot injuries. And side pods, I tend to question whether that's going to help, but because I think the designers will just come up with something to beat it. But the monocoque construction, I think, is probably the biggest single positive thing in it, and so I think it's certainly a step in the right direction.
Well, he has made a step in the right direction here this weekend as he has that March hooked up. He is back in the lead now, and there are less than 10 laps to go. 141 laps have been completed. We are under yellow because of the accident involving Gordon Johncock on the main straightaway.
There it is right there. Mario tried to get by him, made contact with Gordy head on into the inside wall. And there is Mario going by on the high side, heading back to the pit area to fix the suspension damage. And Gordy slides to a stop at the pit entrance.
Again, Gordon Johncock is out of the car, and he was taken to the infield hospital, examined by Dr. Steve Albee, the CART medical director, but otherwise is in good shape. Now, here is Mario Andretti. He has made repairs to the front suspension of that car. And right ahead of Mario on the racetrack is Tom Sneva.
There are 12 cars out there now, Bob. If Mario finishes 12th, he will get 1 point. Should Sneva finish second, he would pick up 16 points, and both drivers would have 143 points. However, as they go back to racing, if Sneva could win it, he could be 4 points ahead of Mario at the conclusion of this race.
That's the challenge of Tom Sneva right now, and Bobby Rahal is the leader of this race. Sneva trying desperately to pull off the win, but Rahal has been very, very superior in this race. Al Unser Jr. is right behind Tom Sneva on the racetrack, now being shown in third position. Mario is trying to move up through traffic. He's already passed about 3 cars, but has a lot of interval between himself and the front leaders. And don't forget, Mario lost numerous laps when he was in the pits.
And also, before that yellow light situation, we had a gap beginning to open up between then second and third. So it looks like Rahal is able to pull away from Sneva.
And let's go down to Jack Arute in the pit area.
Good news on the condition of Gordon Johncock. Before he was removed to the infield hospital, I had a chance to talk to him personally. He said he feels okay. He's been bent up pretty good, but he's concerned that he may have damaged his right ankle once again, and that's the main problem that they're going to tend to when they take him to the infield hospital.
All right, thank you, Jack, for that update on the condition of Gordon Johncock. We've got a real battle for second place here as Al Unser Jr. is searching desperately for the opportunity to pass Sneva. He's on the outside in turn number 1, and Al Unser Jr. passes Tom Sneva and moves into second.
I suppose we could update the point situation again to say if Tom finishes third, he'd be 2 points behind Mario.
Something is wrong with Sneva's car. He is slowing down dramatically on the racetrack. Now a 3.3-second interval between the leader, Bobby Rahal, and the second-place car of Al Unser Jr. Each time one of these cars passes Tom Sneva, it means fewer points. Michael Andretti is running in 4th spot now, so if he can get around Tom Sneva, why, Sneva will pick up fewer points. The interval is 3.29 seconds as Al Unser Jr. continues to reel in the leader, Bobby Rahal, as we continue to watch this situation involving Tom Sneva. Looks like the tires or the handling or something on that car is going away, Gary.
Well, I think that was the brakes that time. He smoked it into turn 1, but there is Michael right behind him. Apparently, Michael is a lap down, so he would not be hurt if Michael goes by, and Michael's going to try him on the outside, coming off turn 4. What a place to pass.
That has been the scene of a couple of accidents today as they come off of turn 4 and start to jockey for position coming down the straightaway. We have seen 2 accidents here this afternoon. So 148 laps completed. The next time around, Bobby Rahal will get the white flag indicating 1 more lap. And Al Unser Jr. wishes that he had about 5 more laps because he has now moved to within 2 seconds of the leader. Rahal is on the last lap of the race in turn number 1.
Well, you're right, Bob. It appears that Al Unser Jr. does have a faster set of wheels right now, but simply the laps are running out, so it looks like Bobby can hang on. We'll be looking for the white flag.
It'll be Bobby Rahal's first win since 1983, last year at Riverside, California. Rahal off of turn number 4, the checkered flag falls, and Bobby Rahal has won the Strohs 150. Finishing right behind him is Al Unser Jr., and it was less than a second between the two. Unofficially, finishing in the 3rd position will be Tom Sneva. We'll have to check to see if Michael Andretti was a lap down or whether he was on the same lap as Tom. If he was on the same lap, then Michael Andretti finishes in 3rd spot. Nevertheless, the points standings are going to change because of the outcome of this race. Andretti, unfortunately, with the suspension problem, and spent many laps in the pits.
I would think that Mario will probably lead by 2 points at the conclusion of this race.
Well, we'll update you on that situation in just a moment. Bobby Rahal stops the car here on the front stretch, and we'll be talking with the winner of the Strohs 150, Bobby Rahal, in just a moment.
A little loss of control here could ruin your whole day.
Test pilot Chuck Yeager for AC Delco.
Even on the highway, I stay on top of my car with the Delco Performer shock absorber. Its sealed gas cell eliminates air bubbles and provides a constant cushion in lab tests and on the highway. It's the only shock your car will ever need. Never wait for trouble. Get the Delco Performer.
Call 800 AC Delco for a retailer near you.
Pontiac.
When you get a Pontiac Sunbird, you get a car that's practical and easy to own. When you get a Pontiac Sunbird, you get a car that's technically advanced and carefully built. And when you get a Pontiac Sunbird, you can also get a car with 150 turbocharged horsepower. If you're so inclined. Sunbird, only from Pontiac.
We build excitement.
Pontiac.
We're back at Phoenix, and let's go right down to Victory Lane. Here's Jack Arute.
And it's a jubilant Victory Lane indeed. Bobby Rahal, congratulations, your first win of the year.
Well, thanks. You know, we've been so close all year long, and, you know, a year ago, my chief mechanic got his leg broken real badly here, and he's back, and we thought we were kind of snake bit here at Phoenix, but I guess we're not after all.
There was some concern, I understand, early in the going on tires. That went away awfully quick, though.
Our 711 car just, I was concerned about the tires because I knew it'd be a problem, and really, the car's balance stayed beautiful throughout, and I think we were catching Mario slowly when he had, I don't know, he must have had some problem or something, but I could see Tom was in a lot of trouble with tires, and I knew that with 8 laps to go or what have you, we could stay ahead of him, and I went as hard as I could the last 6 laps or however long it was, and I tell you, I'm thrilled.
Well, everybody else is too. Congratulations to Bobby Rahal and the entire team.
Thank you.
All of Bobby Rahal's victories have been before ESPN cameras. Our thanks to Dennis Wood, Susan Tires for their assistance here at Phoenix, to Jack Arute and Gary Lee for helping me on the broadcast. The Strohs 150 has been brought to you by Pontiac. Cars built with a feel for the road. Pontiac, we build excitement. And by Skoal Bandits Tobacco in a little neat pouch. It's a little pouch of pleasure. The top 5 finishers here at Phoenix. The winner, Bobby Rahal. Finishing in 2nd position, Al Unser Jr. Michael Andretti was 3rd, Tom Sneva 4th, Danny Ngayes 5th, and Sneva is 4 points behind Mario Andretti for the championship. For now, this is Bob Jenkins from Phoenix, Arizona, saying so long, everyone. The eyes of Mario Andretti say it all. Phoenix, Arizona last Sunday, Mario was leading the Strohs 150 when the front suspension was damaged in an